The year is 1957, a time of great change but also of deeply entrenched norms. In America, cars were massive, behemoths of steel and chrome, stretching longer than some apartments. Chrome-laden beasts, reflecting the optimism and excess of the era. Symbols of post-war power, status, and the American dream realized. General Motors, Ford, Chrysler, the Big Three as they were known. Industrial empires churning out these gas-guzzling giants at an astonishing rate. Building V8 land yachts with horsepower figures that seemed almost comical by today's standards, that guzzled fuel with abandon, seemingly without a care in the world. Gas was cheap, and the open road beckoned. Over in Japan, a nation still recovering from the war, Honda was a tiny company, a mere speck on the global automotive landscape. Mostly known for noisy motorcycles buzzing around the narrow streets, and engines on bicycles, a practical solution for affordable transportation. Soichiro Honda, the company's founder, a brilliant, grease-stained engineer, a man who lived and breathed engines, had an idea. A vision that defied the conventional wisdom of the time. Not just to build cars like everyone else, but to build the future, to redefine what a car could be. While Detroit obsessed over tail fins, chrome, and marketing, selling dreams of suburban bliss, Honda focused on pure engineering, on innovation, on pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Their audacious move, a gamble that could have bankrupted the entire company, creating a separate company, a dedicated team, a skunk works, hidden away from the pressures of daily production, dedicated solely to research and development, to blue sky thinking. Imagine a small-town baker content with his daily bread, opening a secret lab, filled with beakers and strange contraptions, to invent a new kind of flour, a flour that could revolutionize baking. Madness perhaps, but inspired madness, driven by a relentless curiosity. Honda, fighting for every yen, scraping by in a post-war economy, bet everything on the power of ideas, on the ingenuity of his engineers, not immediate profits, but on the long-term potential of innovation. They believed that if you let engineers dream, give them the freedom to explore, they'd eventually invent something world-changing, something truly revolutionary. It was a quiet declaration of war, a challenge thrown down to the giants. On the automotive giants, the established powers of Detroit. The world didn't notice yet, they were too busy admiring tail fins. But Honda was about to change everything, and the automotive world would never be the same. The 1950s were the golden age of American cars. Chevrolet Bel Airs, massive V8 ES, and endless chrome. Detroit's automakers were untouchable, shaping economies and culture, with R&D budgets bigger than some countries. To them, Honda was a non-entity, a gnat on the leg of a giant. The American formula was simple: bigger, flashier, more cylinders. Innovation meant power steering or a new pastel paint, not rethinking engines. The basic car hadn't changed in decades. Why mess with success? Complacency reigned. Detroit was the Roman Empire before the fall. Meanwhile, Soichiro Honda saw American V8s as wasteful, not wonderful. He believed in efficiency, cleverness, and getting more from less. This philosophical divide, brute force versus elegant design, would become the next great automotive battleground. Detroit was oblivious. Honda was quietly preparing for revolution. The storm was coming. In 1957, Honda embarked on a bold and unconventional strategy, a move that would redefine its approach to innovation and product development. They formally split off Honda R&D, the research and development division, as a completely separate and independent company. This wasn't just a minor restructuring, it was a fundamental shift in how Honda viewed and valued innovation. This wasn't a rebrand or a marketing gimmick, it was a surgical separation, a deliberate and precise division of invention and pure research from the day-to-day pressures of manufacturing and production. Engineers, the creative engine of the company, no longer answered to factory managers, whose primary focus was efficiency and output. Or accountants, who were naturally inclined to prioritize cost control and short-term profitability. Their only job was to invent the future, to push the boundaries of what was possible, without the constraints of immediate market demands. Soichiro Honda, the company's visionary founder, deeply understood that bureaucracy and rigid hierarchies could stifle the flow of ideas and innovation. He built a firewall, a protective barrier, to shield creativity from the pressures of the corporate machine. In most companies, R&D is often viewed as a cost center, a necessary expense to be minimized and controlled. But at Honda, it became the very heart of the enterprise, the driving force behind its success. Engineers were told, "We trust you implicitly, go be brilliant, push the limits of engineering, and explore uncharted territories. Don't worry about cost or budgetary constraints, just invent, create, and innovate. It was a cultural revolution, a complete transformation of the company's values and priorities. Engineers, not salesmen or marketers, were at the top of the organizational hierarchy, making the key decisions. This was a company run by people who loved machines and the art of engineering, for people who shared that same passion, for people who loved machines and the thrill of innovation. The gamble was huge, a high-stakes bet on the power of innovation, pouring precious resources, financial capital, and human talent into the uncertain realm of cutting-edge innovation. But Honda's leaders, with remarkable foresight, understood that the company with the best ideas, the most innovative technologies, would ultimately win the future. Quietly, with unwavering confidence, decisively, they changed the fundamental rules of the game, disrupting the established order of the automotive industry. The established giants, complacent in their dominance, didn't even notice the shift. But Honda was now playing a completely different sport, on a new playing field, with a new set of rules. What made Honda R&D special wasn't just independence, it was the culture inside. Soichiro Honda encouraged passionate debate, even chaos, through the Waigaya system where anyone could challenge anyone. Hierarchy was out, the best idea won, no matter who had it. R&D was a playground for engineers, free to chase wild ideas and long-term projects. They weren't just tweaking next year's carburetor, they were reimagining mobility itself. Radical engine designs, new materials, and manufacturing techniques were all fair game. This freedom let them experiment with solutions years ahead of their time. When the world needed cleaner engines or in-car navigation, Honda was already there. It wasn't luck, it was a conscious investment in curiosity. Honda R&D wasn't just solving today's problems, they were preparing for tomorrow's. The Sandbox was building the future. By the early 1970s, a growing awareness of environmental issues was sweeping across the globe. Pollution was choking cities, blanketing them in a thick, hazardous smog that threatened public health and obscured the very sky above. The air quality in major metropolitan areas had become a serious crisis, and the U.S. Clean Air Act, a landmark piece of legislation, was enacted to combat this growing menace. It aimed to regulate emissions and improve air quality across the nation. The Clean Air Act set strict new standards for automobile emissions, forcing manufacturers to drastically reduce pollutants spewing from their vehicles. These regulations were a game-changer for the automotive industry. Detroit panicked, facing a monumental challenge to meet these stringent new requirements. The pressure was on to find a solution, and fast. Their initial response was bolting on catalytic converters, a relatively crude and inefficient solution. These were expensive, power-sapping fixes that compromised performance and added to the cost of vehicles. It was a band-aid solution at best. But Honda, the Japanese automaker, had a better answer, a more elegant and innovative approach. The CVCC engine, a revolutionary design that would change the automotive landscape forever. CVCC stood for Compound Vortex Controlled Combustion. Instead of a band-aid like the catalytic converter, it was a fundamentally new, a completely redesigned engine from the ground up. It was a brilliantly efficient engine, a testament to Honda's engineering prowess. At its heart was a small pre-chamber, which ignited a rich fuel mixture, creating a hot and stable flame. This flame then shot into a leaner main chamber, igniting the remaining fuel mixture in a controlled and efficient manner, resulting in clean, complete combustion and significantly reduced emissions. The result? A game-changing achievement. Honda met emission standards, exceeding expectations, and setting a new benchmark for the industry. And remarkably, it did so without a catalytic converter, a feat that stunned the automotive world. Regulators, initially skeptical, thought their test equipment was broken. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. The emissions test results were that good, showcasing the true potential of the CVCC engine. The CVCC engine went into the Civic, Honda's compact car offering. It was a small, cheap, and fuel-efficient vehicle, perfectly suited for the changing times. The Civic was reliable, clean, and available as a practical hatchback. While American cars struggled to meet the new emission standards and faced declining sales, the Civic was zippy, offering a fun and engaging driving experience. It was efficient, fun to drive, and easy on the wallet. The CVCC wasn't just engineering, it was a symbol of innovation and ingenuity. It was a statement, a bold declaration of Honda's commitment to pushing the boundaries of automotive technology. Honda was now a leader, a force to be reckoned with in the global automotive market. They'd beaten Detroit, the heart of the American automotive industry. They'd beaten them at its own game, demonstrating superior engineering and a forward-thinking approach. They did it on its own turf, challenging the established order and disrupting the status quo. The world took notice, recognizing the significance of Honda's achievement. The Civic became the car of choice, a symbol of a new generation of automobiles. It was the car for a new era, an era defined by fuel efficiency, environmental consciousness, and innovative design. Honda's gamble had paid off handsomely, solidifying its position as a global automotive leader. The revolution was real, and Honda was at the forefront, leading the charge towards a cleaner and more sustainable automotive future. After the CVCC, Honda set its sights on something even wilder: navigation. In 1981, before GPS, Honda unveiled the electro-gyrocator, the world's first in-car navigation system. No satellites, just a helium gyroscope and sensors tracking movement. Drivers loaded transparent map overlays onto a small screen. A glowing dot traced their journey. It was expensive, clunky, and required swapping map sheets. But it worked. This was the ancestor of every sat-nav, Google Maps, and Waze. It all started in a Honda Accord. More than a gadget, it was a shift in how humans interacted with machines. Honda wasn't just making cars go faster or cleaner, they were reimagining the driving experience. While others focused on upholstery, Honda was inventing the future. The R&D center's vision was paying off in ways no one could have predicted. Honda was thinking decades ahead. The world was finally catching up. The CVCC engine's success was a public embarrassment for Detroit. American giants claimed the Clean Air Act was impossible, until Honda delivered a ready solution. Honda even offered to license CVCC tech to its rivals. Ford accepted, GM scoffed. This wasn't just about engines, it was a clash of cultures. Detroit resisted change. Honda embraced challenges. When faced with the impossible, Honda invented. The difference was clear. Honda looked like the future, Detroit the past. The oil crisis made the Civic's efficiency irresistible. Drivers flocked to Honda for quality and reliability. The Jap crap insults faded as Honda's reputation soared. The poke in the eye became a knockout punch. The world had a new automotive leader. Honda's moment had arrived. There's a story about the final days of CVCC development. The team was stuck, unable to meet emissions targets. Soichiro Honda, long retired but still the spirit of the company, visited the lab. He studied the engine, made a small adjustment, and, legend has it, the engine finally passed. Whether true or not, it captures Honda's essence: hands-on intuition, relentless pursuit, and belief in engineers. The same spirit drove the electro-gyrocator's creation, solving problems no one else saw. Honda's vision was to build the future, not just predict it. The 1957 R&D split wasn't just strategy, it was philosophy. Human ingenuity, unleashed, could beat any giant. Honda's way: be smarter, faster, more creative. That vision would pay dividends for decades. The world was witnessing the power of pure innovation. What's Honda's ultimate legacy from that bold 1957 decision? Every modern car owes something to Honda's focus on efficiency, reliability, and clever design. They proved small cars could be fun, clean, and high quality. Honda's R&D model became a template for innovation copied by tech giants everywhere. The Skunk Works idea, a haven for radical thinking, traces back to Honda. VTEC, Asimo, HondaJet all sprang from this culture of unfettered research. It's a reminder the biggest company isn't always the best. Vision and courage can change the world. Soichiro Honda built more than cars, he built an idea factory. That's his true enduring legacy.